Let's begin the newscast with all the latest coming in from the United States as US President Donald Trump and China's Xi Jinping have started off a trade war 2 years ago. Today, with the coronavirus pandemic infecting millions, the standoff has now snowballed further into a full-scale bilateral crisis between America and China. US President Donald Trump has once again accused China of spreading the deadly novel coronavirus. He said that it was possible that China either could not stop the virus spread or it deliberately allowed to let it spread. However, President Trump has declined to hold Chinese President Xi Jinping responsible for the virus outbreak. Speaking at an event in White House, he said that the trade deal with China was now secondary to what China had done with the virus.
Well, they could have done it, and I'm just saying, well, one of two things happened. They either didn't do it and, they couldn't do it from a competent standpoint, or they let it spread.
The US President has launched a multi-pronged strategy to counter China's narrative on a virus outbreak. His administration has set up a task force which intends to probe China and the WHO.
We're looking at exactly where it came from, who it came from, how it happened, separately and also scientifically. So we're going to be able to find it.
The US presidential election is just months away and the country's economy is reeling under COVID-19 pressure. But President Donald Trump has been consistent in accusing China of this massive health crisis. He also threatened of imposing new tariffs on China as his office was crafting retaliatory measures over the outbreak.
Well, I can do it differently. I can do the same thing, but even for more money just by putting on tariffs. So I don't have to do that. It's approximately $1 trillion, a little bit more as I understand it, $1 trillion. But we can do that in I think probably a little bit of a more forthright manner. You start playing those games and that's tough. We have the dollar to protect. We want to protect the sanctity of the dollar, the importance of the dollar.
As of now, the lethal coronavirus has infected over 1.6 million and has killed more than 61,000 people in the United States. Close to 855,000 are still under treatment, with 18,000 needing critical care. And now let's quickly get you some more details from Ground Zero as I'm joined in by our correspondent Jagriti Dave, who's joining me live from Washington, DC at this hour. Let's quickly go across to Jagriti. Jagriti, welcome to Beyond. Now that Donald Trump has, quote-unquote, seen evidence linking the coronavirus to the lab in Wuhan is a potential huge revelation, especially when an intelligence report concludes that COVID-19 was not man-made or genetically modified as it happened. How do you see the US president's claims move forward with regards to China now?
It's interesting. The president was asked about this. There were reports circulating that the intelligence officials had been directed to find evidence corroborating these claims that the virus originated from a lab, in a government lab in China. And so when he was asked about this, he was asked if he had seen any evidence that gave him a high degree of confidence that the coronavirus came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And he said that yes, he has, but that he can't talk about it right now. And that is interesting, as you say, the juxtaposition between that and the report, the statement issued by the intelligence community, the Office of the Director of Intelligence, which said that the virus was not man-made or genetically modified. However, it did not rule out that it might have been accidentally released from a lab in Wuhan, that it might have been emerged into the environment by accident. But clearly, what the president is doing, he very swiftly, whilst talking of China, once again tied this to the World Health Organization, calling them the PR agents for China, the public relation agency for China. And this is something that he is keen to do. Critics say that he's doing this in order to deflect attention and criticism that he's faced of his own handling of the pandemic in the early stages. And whilst China, lots of people are questioning China's response in the early stages, and China is resisting investigations, but saying that that's up to the World Health Organization. So this is one of the reasons why the president is a strategist strategy seems to be tying the two together as to, in terms of the response to the pandemic and apportioning blame in that direction. And that's where clearly this talk of investigations, this talk of evidence finding is going.
Right, Jagati, on that note, what is the possibility that the US president will go ahead with the threat of new tariffs?
Well, the issue of tariffs is a long-running one. The issue of tariffs has been one back and forth between China and the States for a while. And the president is very proud of his role in the Phase 1 trade deal. The claims that he's made about the amount of money that he's levying from China is something that we have heard very frequently in those briefings. But of course, Americans are paying those tariffs. He is sort of misleading slightly on the amount of money that China is paying, and so it depends on the economy. It depends on the status of the economy. It also depends on whether the US can afford to enter into another trade dialogue with China at this stage, whilst the economy is in such a precarious position.
Right. I'm quite intrigued by what you commented earlier in terms of his re-election bid. Jagati, at a White House event, the US president has again reiterated his claims that Beijing will do anything they can to make him lose his re-election bid in November. Instead of focusing on his own handling of the virus, is Donald Trump's targeting of China also becoming part of his re-election strategy?
And that is one analysis that has been offered. Indeed, that he is pointing towards China. He's saying that China would prefer Joe Biden because they've had to face what he views himself as a tough negotiator, that famous art of the deal that he prides himself on. And so he has frequently said that China would prefer somebody like Joe Biden, who he argues will be soft on China. And his critics do see this as very much deflection tactics against criticism of his handling of the pandemic, but also looking towards the election. His talking points from the start have been that he will be tough on people who he claims are taking advantage of the United States.
All right. Thank you so much, Jagati, for bringing us all those details. We'll keep coming back to you for regular updates.